The number of new daily cases in Metro Manila has dropped by half since the peak of the surge. However, ICU occupancy remains high in the region. With these developments, is the NCR Plus bubble ready to shift to a more relaxed community quarantine? An infectious disease expert says yes. The World Health Organization has approved the Chinese-made vaccine Sinopharm for emergency use. Still the talk of the town, President Duterte backs out of his own challenge to debate with retired Supreme Court Justice Duterte-Carpio regarding issues on the West Philippine Sea. But now that we won't be seeing them together at the podium, an online gamer found a way to see Duterte versus Carpio at the wrestling ring. Focused and fearless. Here's everything you need to know to jumpstart your day. This 8th of May, Saturday. I'm Riza Diaz. We begin today's newscast with the OCTA Research Group's report that new or average new daily cases in Metro Manila is now down by 56% compared to the peak of the surge. This as the average new daily cases in Metro Manila drops to 2,454 from April 30 to May 6. The group also notes a continued downward trajectory for the new COVID-19 cases in NCR. The reproduction rate in Metro Manila also decreased to 0.70, while the R0 for the whole country is now at 0.86. Despite this, OCTA expressed concerns over the continued increase in the occupied ICU beds for COVID-19 patients, as ICU bed occupancy rate remained stable at 71%. An infectious disease expert says Metro Manila and nearby provinces are now ready to shift to a more relaxed quarantine classification. Speaking to 1PH sa Totoo Lang, Dr. Ronching Solantes said that NCR Plus is ready to shift to general community quarantine or GCQ soon. However, Solante reminds the public to exercise extreme caution once we shift to a more lenient quarantine status.
Kasi ang sabi naman natin, pag medyo bumaba na yung kaso at saka medyo makapahinga na yung healthcare facility, so pwede na siguro, no? Pero doble ingat pa rin, no? Doble ingat, no? Maski mag-GCQ na tayo. So gagawin nating ugali kung ano man yung MECQ or ECQ, ituloy natin.
The World Health Organization approves China's Sinopharm vaccine for emergency use. This is the first vaccine developed by a non-Western country to win WHO backing. And it is also the first time the WHO has given emergency use approval to a Chinese vaccine for any infectious disease. Before this approval, however, Sinopharm jabs have already been given to millions of people across the world. Reuters reports that some WHO experts voiced concerns over risk of serious side effects in some patients, but was confident in the vaccine's ability to prevent disease. The Sinopharm shot is the 6th COVID-19 vaccine to receive emergency approval from the WHO.
This afternoon, WHO gave emergency use listing to Sinopharm Beijing's COVID-19 vaccine, making it the 6th vaccine to receive WHO validation for safety, efficacy, and quality.
Now, as India's COVID-19 crisis hampers its ability to deliver vaccine supplies, China steps up by providing vaccines for neighboring countries. Let's listen in to this Bloomberg report.
So basically, we saw a situation where India, unlike a lot of developing countries, had this perplexing lull in cases for quite a long time, for a few months leading up to its recent crisis. And during that time, they really ramped up these vaccine exports. They were sending vaccines all over the world, even though at the time, some people were saying, you know, doesn't India need to get its own vaccination program rolling? And they had, but the numbers were really quite low. And then you saw this enormous surge in cases. Now we're seeing well over 300,000 cases a day, thousands of deaths. Basically, that has hit all all of these other places, dozens of developing countries and some advanced economies that were basically relying on these Indian exports of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine to push their rollouts. So you had all these countries, not just who had received commercial orders or donations, but other countries that were reliant on India's contributions to COVAX, the sort of rich country-funded, WHO-organized, facility to sort of get vaccines equitably distributed around the world. So basically, what you've seen now is India's domestic crisis has refocused the government to say, look, we can't export vaccines. We need to focus on ourselves. We're seeing thousands of deaths each day, and that has just left a lot of other countries in the lurch around the world. Countries from Africa to Asia to Latin America, and it's causing a lot of concern for officials in a lot of those countries. Some Indian officials have said that China's kind of taking advantage of India's situation. Obviously, India and China are geopolitical rivals in Asia. China organized a call with all the foreign ministers of neighboring countries, countries like Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and kind of assured them, look, we can send you vaccines even if India can't. Indonesia's president called Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, personally, got some expedited shipments arranged for Indonesia, which is also being left out by India's collapse in vaccine exports. So you've seen this situation where even before this looming sort of WHO approval, China was moving quickly to take advantage. And now that the WHO looks set to authorize and sort of approve Chinese vaccines, which it has not done up until this point, obviously, that could really, really kind of unleash the floodgates, really, for Chinese vaccines.
President Duterte withdrew from his debate with former Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio just a day after he issued the challenge. Meanwhile, the palace staff spokesperson Harry Roque to debate with the retired magistrate in the president's stead. Maricel Halili with the report.
Isa rin itong bakit? Supreme Court Justice, pareho man tayo abogado. Gusto mo magdebate tayo. Madalawa, tatlong tanong lang ako.
That was President Duterte's challenge to retired Associate Justice Antonio Carpio 2 days ago. But after Carpio accepted the dare, Duterte backed out. The chief executive and the magistrate were supposed to face off on issues surrounding the West Philippine Sea. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque said Duterte's decision was based on the advice of his cabinet.
Na bakit papayag sa debate? Nakaupong presidente naman si Presidente Duterte at si Antonio Carpio po, Attorney Antonio Carpio, bagamat siya ay dating mahistrado, ay ordinaryong mga abogado na ngayon. Parang hindi naman po atatabla, no, na ang Office of the President, na presidente mismo, ay harap sa isang ordinaryong mambabatas.
Roque also argued that whatever the president says could affect public policy and may be covered by executive privilege. With that being said, he offered to take Duterte's place. Roque added that the retired justice may also tap former Foreign Affairs Chief Albert Del Rosario to go against him, but on one condition. He said their discourse will be limited to particular issues on the table.
Unang-una, sino ang responsable sa pagkawala ng teritoryo ng Pilipinas? Si Presidente Duterte ba o ang ibang administrasyon? Pangalawa, tama ba ang sinasabi ni Antonio Carpio na binaliwala ni Presidente ang panalo natin doon sa Hague Tribunal? At kung gusto niya, pangatlo, tama ba po na namimigay ng teritoryo ang Presidente Duterte?
But Carpio said he will not argue about issues without factual dispute, such as those mentioned by Roque, because he does not want to engage in a useless exercise that will only detract the public interest. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
The President's statements last year affirming the arbitral ruling regarding the West Philippine Sea stands. That's according to the Foreign Affairs Department, which released a statement yesterday after President Duterte remarked that the Hague ruling is, quote, merely a piece of paper. The DFA stands firm that the President's statement at the 75th UN General Assembly affirming the 2016 South China Sea Arbitral Award is a supreme expression of foreign policy on the West Philippine Sea issue. Meanwhile, speaking to One News political analyst and law professor Tony Lavinia slammed the president's contrasting statements on the matter. He said the president should be clearer on his stand on the defense of the country's territory against the Chinese.
What we really want is the president to be clearer about his defense of our territory from the Chinese intrusions. Because to be honest, many of the president's statements can be interpreted as favoring China or giving China a free pass. Nobody's going to go to war. The Chinese will not go to war over this. We are not going to go to war over this. But are we going to stand up against the Chinese? Are we going to raise the Hague decision, which is not a useless piece of paper?
As President Duterte backed out of the debate challenge with former Justice Antonio Carpio, the two are now battling it out in an online wrestling match. Streamers from Testa Gaming created a mod of the two officials on WWE 2K19. Carpio is wearing a black robe while Duterte is wearing a white barong as the two wrestled. Thousands of Facebook users watch a 12-hour live stream as they bet who will win the match. Testa Gaming said that the online game is for entertainment purposes only and not intended to hurt or ruin anyone's reputation. Now you can still watch the game through Testa Gaming's Facebook Live of the wrestling match. And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us later again at 10 in the morning as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.